Hello everyone, this is Chats About Improv with SomerSand, and today we have our wonderful guest, Kyra Thaysen.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, Kyra, we're so pleased you're here with us. Perhaps you can tell something about yourself.
Sure. What do you want to know? Where I come from? Improv?
Your improv journey, your passion about improv,
improv life,
Improv life.
Okay, first of all, I'm addicted to improv. I've realized it's become a serious addiction. I love it. It's become pretty much most and the central part of a lot of my life. I'm a therapist by day, and as soon as it turns night, I'm an improviser, a teacher, a coach. But interesting that also my therapy, I take a lot of applied improvisation into my therapy. So I'm pretty much doing improv 24 hours apart from when I'm sleeping. So it's become very central to me. I really believe in its strength. It is not just connecting people, but it has amazing power. And I enjoy it a lot. I believe in it, I enjoy it, and it's fun.
And so how long have you been doing improv?
Oh, I first got introduced 2002. Properly. Before that, it was when I was doing my A-levels in England a long time ago, so like at 98 or something. And I really liked it then. It was fun. And then 2001, I finally got to do it more at university, sort of around that time. And then afterwards, I kept on going back to it. Properly, though, really where I say I've done my own classes, really started going after a lot of coaching and training myself, I started about 12 years ago.
Okay.
So 12 years now I've been teaching myself and using it in therapy. I do corporate improv as well, which means corporate gigs where I coach them, I train them, team trainings with applied improvisation. I produce Televised Improv, which is something that's come about especially in the last pandemic time. And yes, I do stage, obviously. I do shows, I do stage work, I do normal workshops. Mm-hmm. A whole lot.
What's your favorite thing about improv?
Watching people sparkle in their eyes. Watching them create something in the moment and just be silly. Be okay with not being perfect. To enjoy the moment and just to be creative, especially as adults. I think that is something very rare because as adults, we don't often allow ourselves to just play again. And I think that's the most important part, definitely to see that creativity and people to see them in just relaxing. It's not about the end result for me. It's always about seeing them enjoy themselves in the moment.
Yeah. It's a journey you love.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely, it is. And a lot of people have to start that, or they start the journey and they're very insecure about it because they've already been so formed by life. I have to be this, and I have to be serious, and I want to be taken seriously, and they have a lot of walls. Once you break those down, a lot happens. Creativity starts, and they can just be themselves.
Just like we used to be when we were children.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's the ideal state to be in. We're actually most intellectual when we're children. Before the age of 4, that's when we're the most intellectual as human beings. We are like sponges. We soak all the information in, and then from then it just decays. Then we're just programmed to do the big things.
Yeah. So, Kyra, we have seen episodes of the first improvised soap opera on YouTube called Duluth. So, tell us how you got into televised improv.
Oh, wow. It was actually, I have to say, Pete Morceau, his project from the US. He's based out in the US. And he called me one day with this amazing idea and this amazing project that was international. It was huge. He wanted it to be a huge cast. He wanted it to be like television, which means there's no post-production yet because it's all improvised. It is production in the here and the now. So it's not just the actors that are acting out a soap, but the editing is live edited in the moment, which was extremely challenging technically. I loved the idea though, to try that also with music. So it was like a film production. You had music masters, you had sound masters, you had stage producers in the background, you had the voice of God, you had Zoom cutters, you had the OBS operation. everything was involved, and it flashed me. It was so complex, but to bring the project together with all its difficulties, all people from all over the world, I said, if we can make that happen, then that's a new ground in improv.
Yeah.
And to make it happen sort of halfway decent. And the beauty of keeping your character, I think that's very rare in improv, to go for episodes. And we our challenge was 24 episodes, and to try and stay within the character and see what happens every week when they return, and into that world, really delving deep.
So if you had to make a definition of what televised improv really is, how would you do that?
Televised improv it's narrative improv with recurring characters. It's definitely got directed improv in it as well, because of the technicalities, not the narrative, but the technicalities. The tools are very different as an actor. You have to be precise, you have to be on your toes, you have to be quick. There's so many challenges. It's a complete different type of improv than normal improv. And it's very challenging, why a lot of really great and experienced improvisers want to have a go at it, because it's so difficult.
Yeah.
It looks so easy, but it's so difficult.
When you say it's directed, you do not direct the acting. You only direct who's on screen, who's coming in, and who's coming out. Is that right?
Exactly. So you're the one that everybody's always behind the curtains, as one says. And it's like having sort of the stage director voice, where you can say, and the audience can't hear this because it's all streamed over to a channel, whether it's YouTube or Twitch or whatever one's using. We're the ones that shout, okay, I want a monologue, and it's going to be definitely from Maggie now. And Maggie, boom, you've got to be ready. And I tell you where it is, which background you've got to have, because it's all digital. So you've got to put your background up, you've got to be in that moment, and you've got to deliver. So the stress, you've got to get over that sort of stress as well, to jump in. Or I say, I want a 3 people scene, boom, 3 people, I tell them which ones, they're in. That's what I mean with directed improv. On top of it as well, though, I can say, coming to an end, I want you to look for an ending, so I'll help you look for an ending, so you can not worry about the timing, for example. Yeah. Also, as the producer and stage director, you can say things like, give me more emotion. I want more, because you're already doing it. I just want more of it. So I'll, push you to give me more, and I'll try and get the most juicy parts out of you. Yeah.
What about the backgrounds? Are these already sorted out, or people choose them as they want to, or you tell them to choose a specific background?
They are sorted out before, depending on what project you're doing. There's projects where, if you're in a certain genre, for example, in a Western, we'll sort out all the digital footage, where it is. And every single piece of footage needs to have 2 sides to it. Because if we're in the same room as each other, we don't want to look like, oh, we just got the same backdrops. You can tell. So the challenge of the reality is to say there's an A and a B version. There's one where there's a left corner of that room, and on the right side, there's a complete different corner with different things, but we can tell it's the same place. Yeah. So you've got to find the footage, which is very difficult because it's high resolution, it's big pictures, and then they've got to be free, unless you're doing your own photography. It gets complicated. Once that portfolio is done, everybody downloads it, so everybody has the same scenery. And you just tell them whether it's going to be A or B with their backdrop, and they've got to put it on. A lot of work.
So you tell them, go to the bedroom, for example, or go to the terrace, or exactly. You tell them, okay.
Either I tell them, or they know beforehand, because they say they line each other up, and they're like, oh, I so want a scene with whatever. John, let's meet on the terrace, so they'll text each other, because there's usually a group chat on the side, which is technical, where they can decide where they want to meet for which scenes, because they're being inspired in the moment. So if something's happening that's affecting whatever, George and Melissa, they'll say, let's meet in the bedroom. And they'll both take the bedroom, one will take A, one will take B, and they're ready up on another screen, and I can see that they're ready waiting. Whether I take them as a director is my choice, but I can see they're ready, and I always need people that are ready. And then, boom, we can go into it, and then they can deliver whatever they want to add to the story.
And the scenes, they have a particular timing. I mean, they are fast, yeah? Yeah, no,
Very. There is different formats. Everything between 1.5 minutes, 45 seconds, and 1.5 minutes. That is scene time. To tell a story, to tell a narrative, you have to share it usually with 1 or 2 people. So it is very fast-paced. It is economic. You have to place what you want to say straight away, including all the emotions you want to bring over and what's the most important part. You have more scenes, so you have more opportunities, if you like, but they are always no longer than 1.5 minutes. In the format I'm doing at the moment with Hotel Berlin, which both of you know about, I've even changed the format completely, so it's not a 3-act show, it's a 1-act show, but with 9 scenes and 3 rounds, and there we even do only 45 seconds maximum. Yes. No 1.5 minute scenes. Every scene is 45 seconds. It's very quick storytelling.
So, Kyra, for our audience, they know about Duluth, but they still don't know about Hotel Berlin. Could you give us a little bit of a snapshot?
Hotel Berlin is an idea that actually Martin Bodecker brought about from Doc Cooper. And he had a lot of Doc Cooper players, a huge pool of them. And he was really inspired by Duluth. He was somebody that watched it and said, this is so difficult, so challenging, I want to have a go, I want to do my own version. And we talked a lot in that time. And he said, I'm really inspired, I'm going to try an open drama, because very often, we go with either a closed drama or open. Open is when you have more people and there's not one center person, no sort of main protagonist. Very difficult, and he said he wants that challenge. So we talked about it, and then we got a group going that was just from the Doc Cooper community, and they have been practicing now. They've understood that it's completely different improv. I had to teach them all the tools for it, because there's a lot of tools to be taught for the improvisers, and we're going to be airing soon, hopefully at the end of this year, roughly September, that's hopefully when we're airing, and it's going to be only half an hour little episodes, but very funny stories. Because of the quick-paced storytelling, it's very different than Duluth. You're so much more in the moment, and you form a story all together as a team, and it's always about that episode, what's happening there. So the story arches are a little smaller. Yes, fascinating and fun.
What's the biggest difference between televised improv and the normal improv we see? What are the challenges?
Versus normal improv, you can be completely relaxed compared to it. You need to stress. If you want to try televised improv, you need to be really robust and you need to be really good. That's, at the end of the day, that's what it is. You're challenging because you've got so many things to think of.
Yeah.
It has to be a second nature to actively listen. I don't want to explain actively listening to anybody that's trying to do televised improv. So there's a certain bar where you just have to be able to do it. I think that's number one. And number two is a lot of normal improv is more theatre sports. It's a different. You have plays. You have the Herald. You have. Just small scenes. You have the Doc Cooper format. You have so many different formats, right? And you can play them, but you're always going to be the character in the moment, and then it just all vanishes. And it's done, and you'll never see that story again. No. And it's fun. Or you'll play the game, and then it's done. Whereas with televised improv, it's very often an ongoing story.
Yes.
You stay in character, so you have to do a lot more character work, a lot more in-depth work. That's probably the main differences and challenges.
Do you think that the techniques you teach, for example, with televised improv, can also be used on stage?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I think it makes you a quicker, better thinker. So it's your improv will become very snappy when you're on stage normally, whether you use it or not. Mm-hmm. But you can go onto stage with a power statement and just deliver. I think that's the training. Whereas before you were figuring out the scene very much. You see things, you're aware of them, and you go in and you can add a lot of content value, but very economically, which really helps your team to be able to bounce off you. Yeah. Also, the actively listening, it trains you so much that you don't miss anything anymore. So I think all of that, yes, you can use it on stage. The other way around, no. You can't use it necessarily only what's on stage in televised improv because you need the training first.
Yes.
And would you say, for example, that music is different? Like on normal improv, you don't use music, but on the televised one, you do use music to enhance some emotions?
Well, you can do. It's a choice of the director. So obviously we're talking about melodrama. Melodrama is a part of television nowadays. It's part of a normal storytelling. It heightens every mood beautifully and brilliantly. So it gets the improviser to adapt very quickly, because even for him, he doesn't know what music's coming very often, which means if he's just about to go and start a monologue, the music will tell him what mood we want that monologue. So if it's a very sad piece, he's coming on stage and he has to turn very solemn, he has to change. So it's nice for the improviser to have the challenge. It's also a lovely way to add to the story. And again, it's a choice. Some scenes might have it, some might not. Duluth had it very often. Yes.
You talk about drama, yeah. Is there room for comedy?
There's always room for humor in anything, I think. I think dramatic improv or narrative improv, it's pretty much the same thing. It's storytelling. And if there's a moment that it comes about naturally, brilliant. Why not allow it to happen? But I don't think with narrative improv it's what you're pushing for. Generally, in any storytelling, I think that's a lot more for the comedy improv, where they want to have a puente, they want to have that laugh, and they're pushing it. And narrative improv is more about doing it as a team together. It's not about you solo. So you can't push that, you can't make that happen, and you have to let go of control. But awkward moments arise, and awkward moments, as we all know, cause for humor and smiles and laughs and long laughs, proper laughs, really, really meaningful ones.
Yeah, so in other words, it's not a sitcom.
No, it's definitely not a sitcom, although you can do a sitcom, especially with Hotel Berlin, the way we're going to be working with it. Because it's so fast, it becomes very funny. And the stories go quite wild. They're very human stories because, human things happen, but they happen and they always sort of blow up in your face. They're always like the worst scenarios you could think of, which is quite awkward to be in. So, of course, it causes for humor. And you could say, well, it's a bit like a sitcom because it's always funny. But I think the more they train, the more they'll realize less is more. And once they get the structure perfect of that quick timing, 45 seconds, they'll go more vulnerable, allow themselves to calm down a bit more and say very little and do a lot more show, don't tell, so a lot more using their bodies. That's important because bodies, we all know, body language is 70% of our communication. Yeah. And we have to use those tools.
Which is difficult in Zoom sometimes.
It is, but I do also think it's an excuse. I think there is a way. Of course, it's difficult for the whole body a lot of the time, but we don't need the whole body to tell what we're feeling. Yeah. I think it's an excuse.
Okay.
For Duluth, you had always the same characters because it was like a soap opera. But if you can give us a bit more about Hotel Berlin, your new production, is it always going to be the same characters or is it going to change?
So the idea with Hotel Berlin is 6 episodes, so always half an hour. Anything between 4 and 6 episodes, they'll stay the same characters. Hotel Berlin is actually a hotel as a location, and everything happens there. So they're always guests, or they work there, or they're revisiting people. That stays. And the characters, every 6 sort of episodes change as well. Then you get a new character, and you decide what genre. You can even decide to keep your characters, but it will be different genres. So now we're in the today, but maybe in 6 weeks we could do a Western, or we could decide to do a musical, or whatever it is we want to do. So we're going to have a lot of fun with it, and we decide if we want to stay with the characters or not. The hotel stays though.
We're looking forward to having it ready for the audience.
Yes.
Many thanks for the sneak preview, what we are doing with Hotel Berlin. Yeah, very much looking forward to that. So, Kyra, thank you so much for being with us. This was our first chat about Televised Improv, but in the next episode, 13, we will tackle a different topic.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you for having me, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.